All right, here we go. Welcome everyone to the Joy of Pixels podcast. My name is Hal451, and I need to figure out what podcast we're actually on, what number of podcasts we're actually on. Hi, Reality. How are you doing? Welcome in. This is going to be a little bit different today. Squash is out. I think it's his mom's birthday, so he's enjoying some time with his mom and family. So I'm going to be flying solo today. So it'll probably be a little bit shorter podcast, but I still wanted to do this. I want to just do my best to always try and do this on Friday at the same time, just so we have consistency. Hi, Koala. Hey, French Toast. Wait, you're a gamer? Unsubscribe. Can only say hi and will lurk. Akko's birthday stream. I totally understand. Thank you so much for the lurk. Thank you for stopping by. Please tell Akko I said alles gut zum Geburtstag. Is that right? Thank you so much, Koala. I hope Akko's having a lot of fun. If he's still streaming, we'll have to raid him after. Yeah, getting back to the podcast. We will, like I said, this will probably be a little bit shorter one today. I do have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. So I'm excited to go over some things. So just jumping in, I'm going to start with what I've been playing. And I've been playing a lot, actually. We'll start with something I'm a little sad/worried about. I feel like I'm falling off of The Witcher 3. Which is very sad because this has happened to me twice now. I still have never played the DLC, the Hearts of Stone, and I'm completely blanking on the other name of the DLC. But the big giant one where you go to Toussaint. I've started it many times, but I don't know. I always want to start from the beginning. I played through all of The Witcher 1. I wanted to play Witcher 2. I still kind of want to play Witcher 2. And I started Witcher 3 and was having a really good time with it, but I feel like I'm just getting burned out. It's overwhelming to go through that game, I feel like. And I know part of it is my own problem because I'm trying to just do everything and I really shouldn't. So I don't want to say I'm finished with the game. But I think I may try and just cut back on doing side stuff and just focus on the main story. But I kind of hate to do that because I just want to do everything in the game. But I don't know. It's still a fantastic game. I just really, really want to immerse myself and get lost in that game and get to the DLC. And I hope I can still do that. I'm going to try. But at the same time, like I don't want to force myself if I am just not enjoying it. The big game I've been playing is Fire Emblem Three Houses. I picked this game up on launch, and really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed what I was playing of it. I got about 30 hours in, and well, let me back up a little bit. So everyone was telling me that this was a very hard game. It's turn-based strategy. I love turn-based strategy games. Games like XCOM, which a lot of people kind of compared it to. And they said it's very, very difficult. So play on easy. Your first playthrough. And so that's what I did. And I got about 30 hours into it, which this is a very long game. I don't think that's even halfway. But it was just getting ridiculously easy, which I was playing on easy. But everyone said it was very hard, so that's why I played on easy. And you can't change the difficulty in the middle of the game, which is really frustrating. I really hate that when games do that. I understand it to a degree sometimes because maybe it messes up balancing for some games. But it's really frustrating when you get, really far and really invested in a game like that, and then you can't change the difficulty. And for me personally, like I just wasn't enjoying it because I was just just going through battles and not really even using most of my my students. I was usually just using like one or two teammates, and they were just destroying everybody without any challenge. So I put it down. Didn't really touch it for a very long time. I picked it back up and I started a new playthrough with a new house. There's of course 3 different houses. I'm playing as the Golden Deer. I think that's what they're called this time. And I put it on hard difficulty, and it's still pretty easy. It's definitely more challenging, but it's still, I don't know, it's still rather easy, I feel like. They did add a new difficulty in that I think is called Madhouse or something like that, but I'm not starting this game over again. I have mixed feelings on the game. I like it for the most part. It feels like a very dated game, though. Just the graphics are not amazing by any means, especially when you are just kind of walking around the monastery. The textures are extremely low resolution. It kind of looks like a mobile game. I mean, there's even mobile games that look better than this. I don't know. It's really a shame that they couldn't make this game look more pretty. And graphics are definitely not everything. Also, I'm sinking. Hold on. Let me move my desk down. Going down. All right, that's a little better. But yeah, I wish that they would make it just look a little prettier. I feel like this game would be so fun. I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm being very down on the game. I'm still enjoying the game, and I enjoy exploring the monastery. But it's kind of hard to describe. The movement is very floaty, and just a lot of JRPGs I feel are like this. Persona is like this. Just the movement through the world is very floaty and just not very elegant looking. And I don't really understand that. I don't know if they just don't put much effort into modeling that or what it is, but I wish that it was a little bit more immersive, I guess. French says, so sad when really nice pixel art franchises go 3D and it doesn't look as good. Are you referring to Fire Emblem? Hi, Vermont. Welcome in. Good evening and happy Friday. Yeah, it's weird because I almost think that game would look or would be more enjoyable as pixel art. Yeah, but with some other franchises, I got you. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still am enjoying the game. I wish it was a little bit more challenging, and it kind of feels like baby's first strategy game or something like that, which is just really surprising to me because I heard so many people say that Fire Emblem was like really, really difficult, and maybe the other ones are. This is my first Fire Emblem game. With all that being said, I'm still enjoying it, and I think the story is somewhat interesting. I still have just a lot of little gripes. There's something that was really, really frustrating to me that happened the other night when I was playing, and I actually took a clip of it. You can check the clips if you want to see. But it comes up to kind of what seems like a pretty major decision in the game, or like kind of a big story point is happening. And you're given an option. You're given 2 different options. I won't spoil anything, but you're given 2 different options. And I didn't really trust the person that I was talking to, and I don't know if I still do trust them. So I didn't want to allow them to do something that they wanted to do. So there was an option to, not allow them to do that. And so I chose that. And then it just didn't let me choose that. Like, it just repeated the dialogue. And then I was like, oh, you're just being, funny about this. So I chose it again. And then it just repeated the dialogue again. And I realized that it literally will not let me choose this. So there's this illusion of choice that I think is just really, really bad. And I really do not like that. I really wish that was different. And it really kind of put me off from that part of the game, but I'm still interested in the story and where it's going. And the gameplay is still enjoyable, but I just wish it was more because I feel like it could be so much better. Why not play it on stream? I could. Yeah, let's do it. Give me just a second to find it. I mean, it is a little spoilery, so I don't know if you want to play Fire Emblem and you haven't played Fire Emblem Three Houses, you may not want to watch this. All right, let's see. So here it is. So he wanted to look at someone's diary, I think it was, and I was like, no, I don't want to do it because I didn't really trust him. So he was pleading to like allow us to do it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to allow it. But then he just repeats the exact same thing. And I was like, no, I'm not going to allow it. But he literally just keeps repeating the same thing. So this option is completely pointless. You have to let him borrow it. I feel like this is a big problem with this game. I don't really understand the point of that. I don't understand the point of giving you an option like that and then just not actually having an option. So yeah, that's Fire Emblem Three Houses. I am glad that I've gone back to it. I still want to finish it. Depends on what the follow-up is. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I hate giving you an option like that and then just not letting you choose it. I thought that was really weird. The other big game that I've been playing is Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. I've gone back to that game. I don't really know why. I just really wanted to play a Souls-like game. I think I was thinking a lot about Ghost of Tsushima lately, and really excited for that game. Obviously, I can't play it, so Sekiro I feel like is the next best thing. I mean, Sekiro may even be better than Ghosts. We don't know yet. Vermont's asking if I'm going to go back to Sekiro to take screenshots. Look, I like taking screenshots in games. Okay. I don't know. I feel like it'd probably be a very boring stream, but sometimes it's very fun just to go through a beautiful game and just appreciate the beauty of it. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about Sekiro. I feel like I've talked quite a bit about that before in the past. I still am not sure where I would rank that game within the other FromSoft games, but I really like the game. And I go back and forth. When I first played it, I wasn't expecting much from it because I knew it was going to be quite a bit different. But then I really started to enjoy it, and then after I'd finished it, I kind of felt a little more not negative, but just not quite as on fire for it as I initially was. But now I'm kind of like really getting back into it. So I don't know. I want to go through that game at least one more time and kind of figure out what I think about it. Reality says I should become a photographer. That's a good idea. Making screenshots in real life. I know, right? Some other games that I just wanted to mention that came out recently that I haven't gotten the chance to play yet, but they're somewhat interesting to me, or I don't know. I just wanted to mention them. TemTem came out, which is kind of the Pokemon MMO, I guess. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it seems to be getting a lot of attention. I don't know if anybody's actually been able to play it because it seems like there's about 35,000 people trying to play on a server that's designed for about 5,000 people. So it's out in early access. I think they're saying that that game's going to be in early access for at least a year, which means it's probably going to be like 3 years. So I don't know if I would really be interested in getting in that right now, but it seems to be interesting. And from what people are talking about, it seems like it's pretty cool. Dragon Ball Kakarot came out. I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, but I know it's getting a lot of attention. Apparently, it tells the entire story of Dragon Ball. But from everything I've seen about the game, it just doesn't look that enjoyable. It is an RPG, which is kind of cool. It's kind of an open world RPG. But the combat just looks bad. Like everything I've seen about it, you literally just mash the same button just over and over. So I don't know if this is kind of like a game for kids. I feel like I'm gonna make enemies if I start talking bad about Dragon Ball, because I know a lot of people like Dragon Ball. It didn't seem very interesting to you, French. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's really only a game that you could play if you're a fan. I would like to get into some of those games, but I just don't know if I would really have the nostalgia for it. Vermalt, you feel offended already? French says, but the creator of Dragon Ball wrote some content specifically for the game, so I guess there's the draw for the fans. My understanding was it's basically like the exact same story that they tell every single game. And there's a lot of, I guess, Dragon Ball fans that are kind of upset about that, but they still buy it. I don't know. I kind of understand that, but I don't know. I just want like more unique and original IPs, I guess. Also, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, hashtag FE Encore. What kind of title is this? That came out. That is definitely one that I'm interested in. That is kind of a weird game, but my understanding is it's kind of a mix between Persona. It's kind of like a Persona Light. But it has Fire Emblem characters in it or something like that. I'm probably getting this wrong, and somebody that actually knows what Tokyo Mirage Sessions is probably face palming right now. But the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because I really fell in love with Persona 5 when I played it. And it's such a unique game that I've never really played anything like it. And I'm always kind of on the outlook for other games like it. And it seems to be getting pretty good reviews. This is I should mention, this is actually a port of a Wii U game. They have added a little bit of stuff into it, but not a whole lot from what I understand. But it looks interesting. I kind of want to check it out, but it's a full price $60 game. So I don't think I would really want to pay a full price for it. I should also mention it's a Switch only exclusive, which is kind of appealing because everybody's been wanting Persona on the Switch, and doesn't seem like we're going to get it, at least not right now. So that could kind of scratch that itch if someone is looking for that. Let's see. French says Fire Emblem times Persona is also everyone is pop. Oh yeah, that's right. Everyone's pop stars. I don't think you'd be into it. I really would just be into it for the gameplay. I really, really liked Persona combat, and it seems like, from what I've said, it's pretty similar to that. Vermont says, you say that now, but at the same time, I was really trying hard to finish Catherine, too. Catherine was an interesting game. We played that on Valentine's Day last year. I think we need to make that a tradition, at least play like a little bit of Catherine on Valentine's Day. Yeah, that's kind of all of the games that I wanted to talk about today, the main games anyway. A little bit about what I was playing: Witcher 3, Fire Emblem, and Sekiro. and then those other games that recently came out that I just kind of wanted to mention. Isn't there a spin-off or something to Catherine? I'm not sure, Vermont. There was a not really a remaster, but like a Catherine Full Body, I think it was called, that was kind of like a remaster, but they also added a bunch of stuff to it. Maybe that's what you're thinking of. All right, let's get into a little bit about the news. There's not a whole lot of news going on, but there are just a few things that I wanted to talk about and just kind of bring up. Catherine, the Catherine sequel. Reality is spelling Catherine with a K and also kind of a very odd spelling. Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing with Catherine. There's two different Catherines, and I think in Catherine Full Body there's actually three different Catherines. I don't know. That's a weird game. So yeah, the main thing I wanted to talk about, which we talked a little bit about this last podcast, but we didn't have a chance to really kind of go in depth with this, is just all of the games that were delayed. So many video games have been delayed, and I think it's important to remember that this is not really something new. I feel like everybody's making it out to be like, oh, why are all of a sudden video games being delayed? But this happens all the time, and I don't think people just realize it. But I'm kind of glad that it's getting more attention, because it's something that really, really annoys me. And I want to make it very clear that I'm perfectly fine with a video game getting delayed if it needs to be delayed, and if it's for the best, and if it comes out when it is delayed and it's a fantastic game, that's wonderful. Like I want them to do that. What I don't want companies to do is to announce a release date so far in advance, which even a year in advance is too early in my opinion, because it's just almost impossible for developers, at least from my understanding, and I don't know a whole lot about game development, but it seems like it's impossible for them to know, a year out or even more. I mean, sometimes they're announced like 2 years out that they're going to be ready on this specific date. I personally, I would prefer if video games were not even announced if I didn't even hear about the video game until it was like 6 months or less. I know that that's very difficult to do because, rumors start going around and leaks start happening and things like that. And it just kind of, it is what it is. But if you look at like Bethesda, I think that they did a really good job for all of their faults. I think that they did a really, really good job with the launch of Fallout 4. We didn't have any idea that was happening. Yeah, there were a few rumors. But all of a sudden E3 comes out, they drop the news that Fallout 4 is coming out in like 4 months. And that was amazing, And I feel like that's still plenty of time for big companies like that, big publishers, to promote it and everything. So I just wish companies would start doing that. Or at the very least, announce your game and say, hey, this is way off. We don't have a release date for this. You could say, hey, maybe we're looking at like 2021 or something like that, but it's really hard to give details. I would be okay with that. But honestly, I mean, what's the point if you're going to announce a game that you don't even know when it's releasing? It just builds hype for no reason, and then disappoints you when it doesn't come out at that specific time. And just to kind of give you guys an overview of all the stuff that has been delayed recently. So Final Fantasy VII was delayed to April. Avengers to September. Watch Dogs Legion delayed to 2021 fiscal year. That could mean anywhere between, I think, March 31st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Quarantine, Gods and Monsters, Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones. What in the world has happened to that game? That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. That game was announced. When was that announced? Like 3 years ago? Let's see. I don't know if I can even find it. I want to say it was like 2017, 2016, 2017 E3 that was announced. And I think it was originally supposed to come out in like 2018 and then 2019, and now they pushed it to 2020, but maybe 2021. Like, there's just no point in announcing a game like that unless you know when it's closer, in my opinion. Basically all of Ubisoft's games have been delayed, which again I think is good because they have kind of been hitting a rough patch with the latest Ghost Recon game that came out, which was kind of a disaster. I didn't think it was as bad as some people were saying, but it was definitely not great. So I'm glad that they're kind of taking back a little bit and just kind of looking at what they're doing. I think that that's a good idea. Doom Eternal, of course, was delayed from November, I think it was originally coming out, to March of this year. Last of Us, of course, was delayed to May. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 was a perfect example of what I'm talking about. They announced that game out of nowhere, and it was over a year in advance that they announced that. And they even put a date on it. I think they said like March something that was coming out. And I was like, there's no way that that's coming out. And of course, that was delayed to, quote, sometime later in 2020, which I would imagine that will probably be delayed even further because we have heard just nothing about that game. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles was delayed to summer. Animal Crossing, of course, was delayed to March. Kerbal Space Program 2, another game that they just kind of announced out of nowhere. That's delayed to 2021. Ori and the Will of the Wisps, of course, was delayed to March 2020. Dying Light 2 was just recently delayed, I think this week. Was originally slated for summer, and now it's just delayed to TBD. That's another game that was announced so long ago that, so many of these games, like when they're first announced, I get super excited about them. But when they drag it out this far, like, I'm not really even that excited for Dying Light 2. I mean, I'm sure I will be when it comes out. But, it's hard to get excited and stay excited, I guess, is the main thing. Like, you can only be excited for so long until you start to just kind of lose hope, I feel like. And of course, the big one for me at least, Cyberpunk was delayed to September 2020, delayed from April to September. So yeah, that's my big rant, I guess. I want companies to stop announcing their games so early. I get, like indie, smaller, like AA indie developers. It's a good idea to get your, or it can be a good thing to get your game out there early and get people talking about it. Especially if you're going to do something like going into early access or Kickstarter or something like that. But all of these games that I'm talking about are massive, massive games that I just don't feel like need to be announced this early. Let me catch up on chat here. French says, games are made with deadlines in mind. They don't give you money and say, just let me know when it's done. my problem, though, is French. I agree with you, but those deadlines are never hit. And I feel like, I don't know if it's just bad management. I honestly don't know what the answer to that is, because, yeah, again, like, they do have deadlines, but they are never hit. And I don't know, is there any kind of, I mean, I don't want to say, like, punish them or anything, but I do feel like they need to do a better job at being realistic about their deadlines, maybe. Or just explaining to their project managers that, like, hey, this is going to take longer than you're wanting it, and just being more realistic about these things. And again, I know game development is just extremely complicated, and there's kind of the old thing that video games are never really done. They just kind of get to a point to where, like, they're okay with sending it out. I don't know. Vermont says the Fallout 4 E3 press conference was great. You loved it? Yeah. It was really, really great how they did that. I think that was the same year that they announced Doom and not BioShock, Dishonored 2, I think. Also putting out Fallout Shelter the same night. Yeah. You could literally see people taking their phones and starting to download it while Todd was still talking about it. Yeah, that's a good point, Vermont. And then Vermont also says, conspiracy theory, I don't think Final Fantasy will ever come out. We will find out in April, Vermont. But yeah, I think that was a really brilliant marketing move from Bethesda to release Fallout Shelter the same night that they announced Fallout 4, and then Fallout 4 comes out, just a few months later. French says, didn't Skull and Bones have early access or an open beta or something like that? It's supposed to. It still has not ever had an open beta, to my knowledge. I don't know if it's even had a closed beta. I signed up for it as soon as it was announced, and I've not heard anything about it. So yeah, I feel like that game is just all over the place. I believe that game was originally just supposed to be kind of like a multiplayer, like kind of like Sea of Thieves, but kind of more Black Flag combat. And now I think that they're trying to kind of develop it more into like a full-fledged single-player game with the multiplayer as well. But it's at the same time, I feel like they're just going back and forth and not really knowing what they're doing. French says, so many pirate games, I don't know which is which when I see pirate gameplay. What other pirate games are there? I guess there's a lot of pirate games, but there's just not any good pirate games. The last good pirate game that I know of was Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That was a really good pirate game. It was the best non-Assassin's Creed game. Yeah, moving on. We mentioned this just very briefly last week, but Kotaku, Jason Schreier from Kotaku is reporting that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC, as well as other Sony exclusives may possibly be coming to PC. I think that's definitely huge news. And as crazy as it sounds, I think it's very realistic and very possible that this could be happening. It also, I feel like this is very good news to thinking that Horizon Zero Dawn could be a lot sooner than we thought it could be, or at least than I thought it would be. I thought it would probably be like 5 years between the original and the sequel. But if they're talking about putting Horizon Zero Dawn out, let's say this summer, that would be killer marketing for Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and for the PS5, to have Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as a launch exclusive. You put Horizon Zero Dawn out on PC, everybody plays it. That's a fantastic, amazing game. and then you say, hey, you want to play Horizon Zero Dawn 2? We'll buy a PS5. I guess the only thing that you run into the risk of is people thinking, well, if they put this out on the PC, then are they going to put Horizon Zero Dawn 2 on the PC? And I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I feel like it would really help Sony to say, hey, we are going to start putting our exclusives on the PC. They're going to be out 3 years later or something like that. That way people could just decide, okay, do I want to wait 3 years? Some people would be okay waiting 3 years. Me, I want to play the game as soon as I can. Now, if it was like 6 months or something, I might be willing to wait. But for such a big game, and I mean, a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm a huge, huge fan of Horizon. I would still probably go with a PS4 or PS5 to play it with, even if it's going to be inferior to a PC version. But a lot of these games, a lot of Sony games, you can already play on PC through PlayStation Now. So I think it would really be advantageous to them to start putting some of these on PC and give you the best experience to play them with. I would even be fine if they create their own launcher and put their own games on their own launcher so they don't have to take the 30% hit from Steam. And I feel like most people would be fine with that. We just want to play these games. And I think it would be extremely advantageous for Sony to start doing this. I totally understand not putting your exclusives out day and date, but putting them out after a set amount of time just makes sense to me. Nintendo, you listening? I would love to play Breath of the Wild on the PC. I mean, I can play it, but I have to play it through emulation. Wouldn't you rather, us buy the game and make some money? I don't know. Nintendo's weird. It doesn't seem like they want money a lot of times. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the news. Just a few other things that I'll mention. Frostpunk is getting a new DLC. That was a game that I enjoyed playing. I want to play some more of that. It's also coming to Xbox Game Pass, which is pretty cool. I also noticed that Grease is coming to Xbox Game Pass, and also A Plague Tale, I believe. So those are some really good games. Game Pass just continues to be an insanely good deal. There was a rumor, there's always a rumor, it seems like, going around that Left 4 Dead 3 was being worked on, being developed. Valve stated that they are absolutely not currently working on that. Take that for whatever you want. They could be in just saying that, but it doesn't sound like that's coming anytime soon, at least. The Steam sale just started, which it seems like we just had a Steam sale. This is a little bit shorter one. It's worth looking through. There's some good sales on some stuff, but it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Let's see. Anything else? I think that may be about it for the news. We'll move on to any questions you guys have. If you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to let me know. I'm just going to pull one question that Vermalt had for us. Vermalt asks, is there a game where you guys were sure you would not like, in the end, but in the end, it turned out to be way more fun than you thought? There's a couple that immediately come to mind for me. First one being Persona 5. I have that was the first JRPG I ever played. Turn-based JRPG. I've never really been into anime or many things like really Japanese like that, and Persona is very Japanese. But I had heard so many good things about it, and I decided to pick it up and give it a go. And I was still very reluctant in the beginning because, again, that game is just very Japanese. But maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 hours into that game, I was hooked, and I was really, really enjoying it. And particularly the combat, I just really, really enjoyed. And another one, well, Bayonetta would be another one. That may even be the biggest one. I don't think I don't think I've ever gone from thinking like I think I will hate this game to absolutely loving that game. I mean, I fell in love with Bayonetta. I always just thought it was just kind of like a weird, kind of quirky Japanese game. And I also thought it was more of like a button mashy type game, which I'm not really a big fan of, kind of like Devil May Cry or something like that. But when I realized it's much more in depth and much more tactical, in my opinion, than other just kind of button mashy games. And when I started learning the combos and when I learned how to utilize the witch time and just kind of how the game mechanics worked a little bit better, I absolutely fell in love with that game. Except for chapter 14 or 13, which is it? I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one where you're flying on that ship or on the bullet or something like that. That part is terrible. But yeah, everything about that game is fantastic except for that part. Calling Devil May Cry a button mashy game is very brave. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it is. No, I know, I don't know, and maybe I just need to go back and give it a try, and maybe I'll fall in love with it again, like I did with Bayonetta. But I've tried a few times, and to me, Bayonetta is much more tactical in that I felt like I had to learn the bosses. Like I would almost always die the first time to a boss. Sometimes I would die multiple times, like 10, 15, 20 times. But every time I felt like I was learning something. And it very similar to Dark Souls. But with Devil May Cry and Devil May Cry 5 is the newest one that I tried. And I enjoyed that one more than any of the other ones. But I still felt like I was just going into an encounter and there wasn't really any tactics to it. I was just kind of just mashing buttons again. There wasn't really like that much dodging that I had to do or anything. I mean, there was a little bit to the dodging, but for the most part, it was just like, just mash the button, the attack button over and over until the enemy is dead. I would love to be proven wrong, but that's just the way that I felt and that I've always felt about those games. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, I would love to talk about them or discussions or topics or anything like that. You can always drop it in the Discord or you can just put it in chats. French says, well, you can beat DMC by just spamming pistols, but the focus of the game is getting those S ranks. I guess that's maybe what I just never really understood. I've never been one to like try to get achievements or anything like that. For the most part, the only game I've ever platinumed or like ever gotten all the achievements was Bloodborne. But that's literally because you just have to do all the content and like fight all the bosses in Bloodborne, and I just wanted to do that. But I've never like cared about getting really high ranks or like finding every single item in a game or anything like that. And I know that that's different for everyone, and that's just kind of a personal thing. So maybe that's why I just have trouble enjoying those games. Just real quickly, let's see. I'll look through the release dates for some games. and just kind of point out anything interesting that I see. Kingdom Hearts 3 is getting some DLC, Reminds DLC. I feel like you already know if you're going to like that or not. Journey to the Savage Planet comes out January 28th. It definitely looks like an interesting game. It's kind of like a crafting survival game. I feel like it could really go either way. Warcraft 3 Reforged is coming out. I know some people are excited for that. It's kind of a remake slash remaster. Kentucky Route Zero is finally getting its last episode. That game has been in development, I think, since 2013. Yeah, that's been a long time coming. I know people really like that game, and I've got the game, so I maybe will end up checking that out at some point. And that's pretty much all I see that's coming out. Not a whole lot of games coming out lately. It's a pretty dry spell that we're having. Let's see. Vermalt says I want to demand something for the end of the podcast. Let's go birthday raid Akko when we are done. That's a really great idea. That's what I was going to plan on doing. I'm glad you reminded me though. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for today's podcast. I know that this was a lot shorter than normal, but like I said, Squash is out celebrating another birthday, spending some time with his family. So I would love if you guys would come over to Akko's stream with me, and let's all go say happy birthday to him. Or we could say Alles gut zum Geburtstag. Thank you guys again for hanging out, and I appreciate all of the support as always. And I will be back next week with a new schedule. We'll stream some more. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you all.